This is Quantum Flow Radio, organizing thought particles into a flow of collective consciousness.
Hey, brother, can you spare a dime?
Spare a dime. All I have is $100 bill. No can do.
I was afraid of that.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'll just have to move on then.
Yes.
I'll
Yeah.
have to find another friend, another banker.
Money.
Money.
Money is it today. We're talking about money and everything about money.
Yes, sir.
Which could probably take the rest of the day, but we're going to consolidate it, and we're going to probably move fast because there is a lot of discussion on money, but money is everywhere. It's almost as if we can't live without it, and we're going to certainly get to the consciousness of money and how it affects us.
Yeah, and the surprising thing for me about it is that this is all man-made stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we've placed
it's not
the
like
value
money
on
grows
it.
on trees or something.
No, that would be silly, unless it's paper, and
Yeah.
that didn't come along until the 1700s. But anyway, so this thing that drives the world's economy and gives us something to always desire and want is something we just made up.
Yeah. Dough, dinero, bucks, moolah.
Yep.
There's a million names for it.
Yes.
Everyone's trying to get a hold of it.
Cashamundo.
But I guess the question is, our leadoff question will be this. What is money really? I mean, what is it really? And some people will say, everything revolves around money. And some people will say money is the root of all evil. Lots of heavy stuff there. But the first question is, what is money? And I guess, like we always do, we like to define things. We'll probably go through a quick history and then tell you how maybe money really started, because it's changed.
It's changed.
Cha-ching.
Oh.
I'm so funny.
Starting early.
I know. Hey, I'm sure there's more to come.
Yeah.
I don't want to
God.
buck
All
the
right.
system, though.
Oh, no. Stop. 2 shows nightly. Don't forget to tip your servers.
Ooh, tip.
Oh, God.
Oh,
we started
gosh.
that again.
Okay.
See, you can't escape it. It's
No, you
everywhere.
can't. It is, yeah.
It's essentially what? A medium of exchange, right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's pretty much what it comes down to.
Back in the day, people would barter.
Yeah.
So we're going way back, before any systems of money really were in any cultures.
Yeah.
You made something. You made bird cages or something.
Yeah, or anything that would be a consumable item or a desirable thing.
Right. And I'm a baker, and I make breads.
Yeah.
And you happen to want bread, and I want a bird cage. So it's pretty simple.
Yeah, so trade and barter.
Right. But if you wanted bread and I didn't want a bird cage, therein lies the problem.
Yeah.
But you still want the bread.
Yep.
So you got to give me something of value.
Right.
So what are you going to give me
Well, it could have been anything from
besides a black eye? Steal my loaf.
it could have been a cattle. It could have been
You may have something.
a house member to provide duties and services.
They didn't have Craigslist back then either,
No,
so you
no.
couldn't. Yeah.
No.
So in essence, what you would do is you'd want to give me something of value, and at the time that money started coming into being, and that's why it began. It began, I guess, it's coinage, maybe a precious metal of sorts, gold, silver,
Even seashells.
even
the
seashells
early days.
became because it was easier to carry this around.
Than cattle.
Yeah, it was basically, our system money is a credit system, in essence, because the dollar that you really have in your wallet, when you really look at it, it has no value.
No, it's nothing. It's a piece of paper.
You can light it on fire or wipe something with it, but in itself, it doesn't have intrinsic value.
Right.
It's really, it's a piece of paper.
It's the value that humanity has placed upon it.
Right, and we'll get into how we have a faith of value right now, because it's not really backed on anything.
Isn't it interesting, though, how early man decided that, if they did something for someone else, that they would have to have something else done in return?
Yeah, and that actually brings up the point of interest, charging interest. That's kind of not really what a lot of cultures like to do. It was kind of taboo.
Yeah, it was outlawed in some ways.
Right, and a lot of Islamic and Middle Eastern cultures shun away from this.
Yeah.
But guess what?
Early
Here in America,
Hebrews-
they love it.
Yeah, early Hebrews would not charge any form of interest.
I needed some money.
to
You'd
themselves.
lend it to me, and I'd give it back to you in a time period, but I wouldn't have to pay more than I borrowed, and therein lies a huge problem with money.
Yeah.
because it's all debt.
And,
It's all
and not,
based on
not
debt.
just interest, not just simple interest, but this evil
Oh.
demonic thing called compounded interest.
Yes.
Who came up with that? And they got a bonus from the bank, right?
Yeah. Well, some guys were sitting around at the bank going, "How can we make more money?"
Right. How can we loan $100,000 for this house and get paid back $450,000?
Right.
Oh,
Over a
compound
relatively
interest.
a
Yeah.
relatively short period of time.
Yep.
Because that house that you do buy, and most people can't find a house for $100,000, but for example, that house that is $100,000, if you finance it, it's going to cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars by the time you pay it off.
Yeah.
That's why
Especially if you go with a 30
cash
year.
is king.
Yeah.
If you have money, it's easy to make money.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. You start with something, you'll
It's-
always have more something.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the fact that people say, "Oh, these fortunes wither away." I don't know. I think they just kind of disappear into the abyss. But I believe that there's money out there, and there's family money that we're not even told about. Kind of like,
Sure.
they tell you about the Forbes 500 richest guys and women
Right.
in the world. These are that's not,
Peons,
that's not the real list.
children.
I think there's another list. They don't, a list that
Right. And there's the list that you'll never know about because of what's buried in a backyard somewhere on an old family estate or, what's hidden inside a mausoleum somewhere. I mean, there's just money everywhere that we know about and that we don't know about.
Sure.
That's why for many years now they've been trying to flush it out.
Yeah.
That's why, at least in America, we tried to go with some sort of a colored paper currency and put in, an end date on our current currency to sort of just flush it out or it's no good.
Yeah. But, we need it.
Sure.
Every day you're going to need some form of money to survive in society. It's a necessary evil, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And we look at it, we call it evil just because, a lot of people can do some really horrible things with a lot of money. But then again, some people can do some beautiful, wonderful things and be very beneficial
Absolutely.
and benevolent with
And
their
they
money.
do.
And they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of makes the world go around, wouldn't you think? Money.
Yes, absolutely.
So, to finish up on the history, I guess at some point you had, we're talking about ancient history of money.
Yeah.
There-
We're way back.
Yeah, way back. So, at some point, there was people that would say, "Hey, you know what? You can just leave your gold or silver here, and this will be kind of like the point of exchange." So, and then what we'll do is we'll give you an IOU or a credit slip or something like that.
Right.
And this is how the piece of paper, the dollar bill, supposedly kind of came into being.
Yeah.
It was evolved over time, but basically it's a certificate, it's a credit,
Yeah.
it's a slip of paper.
Yeah.
It just happens to look like what we call money now. But really, money is subjective. It's really currency. Currency, which gets back to our maritime type law.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Currency. And
Which is
then
still in
you
place.
put your money in the bank,
Yep.
which is a bank of a river. So it kind of all ties in. I think that's interesting,
It is.
some of the origins here.
Yeah, and then the Templars were instrumental in
Money
stuff.
manipulation.
Yeah, money manipulation, and
They were some of the first, weren't they?
Yeah, because it made sense. I mean, if you were someone that had some wealth on you,
Yeah.
and you wanted to cross a country or travel from one place to another, it was not uncommon for you to be robbed along the way. So Templars came up with an option to leave your money with them.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to carry your
and
full
then-
inheritance around, and that's why
Right, and then when you get to the other side, when you get to your destination, then another Templar organization there would provide you with your money back
right.
at interest.
Yeah. And currency, the money is in circulation.
Mhm.
That's how you kind of
Circulation.
Yeah, and it can be coined, stamped, metal coins, different types of things, banknotes. As simple as it may be, maybe we should just define what money is,
Sure.
even though everyone probably knows. But money, in definition form, is an item or a verifiable record that is generally accepted as payment for goods and services and repayment of debts, such as taxes. They had to put that first, didn't they?
Yeah.
In a particular country or social economic context.
Yeah.
And then, something is generally accepted as a medium of exchange. In fact, you mentioned seashells.
Right.
And I know at a time it wasn't really used as exchange, but tulip bulbs were extremely valuable at the time and were used kind of like to, in the system of trading.
Yeah.
They were worth supposedly thousands of dollars, just tulip bulbs.
Wow.
At one point.
Don't even eat those.
No.
It's not a
cook them
food
before
thing.
you. Yeah.
It allows someone to basically trade what he has for something that he needs or wants. And the interesting thing about looking at that definition that you just gave us is anything could qualify as money if the seller and buyer agree to whatever it is that you've decided on.
That's right, because money is just the concept.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be this, minted coin or these dollars.
No,
or
that is actually currency. If you had to really,
See,
define
there you go.
how money came into being in America.
Let's do it. It's a
Well,
good
we
place
talked
to
about the
start.
barter and the IOU, but at some point, there was this gentleman, William Patterson, around 1694. He was a Scottish banker in England, okay? And he was kind of the first person and his group to set up the first central bank anywhere in the world.
Okay.
And they issued what central banks do is they control money systems, the circulation of money, and they also issue money to governments.
Right.
So this is like big time banks. The
Now, are these at this point, at this juncture, were they government backed banks?
yeah, they probably were not.
Okay.
No, because if
That's
they
why
took
many
off
of
with
them
your
failed.
money, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And most money systems fail too, especially when they're not, they're based on nothing.
Right. Air.
They're not backed
Ones
by
and
anything.
zeros.
Our dollar used to be backed by gold.
Yeah.
You know about this.
Yeah. Gold
And-
standard.
Yeah. They had the
But then
I don't-
after the war, they had to circulate some more money, and there just wasn't enough gold
no.
to do that.
No. So that's where the fractional reserves currency kind of came into being. That's let me step back just for a second. But what happened after 1694 in Europe, they had this kind of money system being set up. And we all know the Templars, and then you had most likely, it could be the elite. A lot of people think the Rothschilds set up all these different banks in Germany, England, France, and all these different players were involved. But in America, they had two central banks that were tried and failed. And most Americans just didn't like the central bank because there was nothing that could control the central bank. So they could, like you said, they could issue money or not issue money. So they could create shortages and therefore
create depressions.
yeah, fabricated, events.
Yeah.
Whether they be depressions or, like the Roaring '20s.
Sure. But
Before-
you control the money and you control
The money
everything.
flow. Sure. Yeah. And you do control the money of a country or a government. You can control all aspects of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So this guy, Senator Aldridge, 1910, we're moving quickly.
Yeah, we jumped a couple
on the
of hundred
history.
years.
Yeah, just a couple
we
hundred
only have
years.
an hour, so let's
Yeah,
do it.
but they had this an extremely private meeting on Jekyll Island off the coast of Georgia.
Ah.
And it was about a week-long meeting, and it was the senator and a whole bunch of very wealthy and connected people. Rumor is like Rockefeller might have been there, which was a Rothschild agent. Warburg, the Schiffs, who knows?
Yes.
All these
All of them.
money guys, right?
Yeah.
And what they did was they created what was to become the Federal Reserve Act or the Reserve Bank. Okay. And this went into effect in 1913. They voted on it during Christmas holiday in December. And when not very many people were there, because again, I told you that the American people did not like the central banks. They felt like if they weren't printing or control of their own money, and here you have these basically international banking people come in. It's not really part of the government. It's a separate entity, and nothing
And
in the
still is.
government oversees it, and it's still that way 100 years later, 100 plus years later.
Yeah.
And then just as a footnote, 1 year later in 1914 is when the IRS was instituted.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Yeah.
Wow, what a
And-
coincidence.
Yeah. And so they issue money and then they take the money, and they did all this. They based a lot of this saying it's going to create stability within the financial worlds and hopefully avoid wars. And guess what? A war broke out right after World War I, after kind of our money system in America was the most modern system was implemented.
Imagine that. Now we can afford war.
Yeah, well, you need to. War is very expensive, and you know who profits from wars?
Not us.
Not us. Yeah, but the people who,
make stuff that blows things up.
the planes, the trains, the jeeps.
Weaponry.
Yeah,
Bombs.
ships.
Control systems.
Sure.
Yeah, all of it.
Navigation systems.
Yeah, big money.
Surveillance. It's big money. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we know that we're kind of at war right now. Everyone forgets that we are. I mean, the Middle East is just going on forever. So we had this money system that these international bankers basically set up. And this brings me to the fact that there is a central bank of central banks. The central bank that's in Basel, Switzerland. It's the Bank of International Settlements. This is supposedly the one that controls their euro and also kind of controls our Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
So it's like completely out of our hands.
Yep.
And the money back then was based on gold. In 1933, they devalued it, and then they went on to what's called the Bretton Woods systems. I'm really going quick.
Yeah,
and then in 1971, Nixon took us off was considered the gold standard. And it was only supposed to be temporary, which was interesting. And I guess what he did was he wanted to.
Nixon was only temporary. So
Yeah,
maybe
it was just the
played out.
convertibility, I think, of the gold.
Yeah.
So you couldn't go in there and get gold if you exchanged your money, which you used to be able to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People always make reference to Fort Knox because that's where the gold was.
Well, we assume it's there, although
Yeah.
it hasn't never been audited. Neither has the Fed either, for that matter.
Yeah, and of course, all of the Queen's gold is in Switzerland.
Sure.
So.
Or under her bed.
Yeah.
But this brings us to.
And it's a lot of gold.
Oh, well, I'm sure she has everything's made of gold.
Yeah.
The teaspoons and stuff for her.
Yeah. Exactly.
Actually, it might be better to make them out of silver. I think silver actually wears better.
Yeah, it's tastier.
It's tasty. Our currency is basically what's called a fiat, or fractional reserve currency. Fiat
It's a Chrysler.
is a Chrysler.
Yeah. Sorry.
Well, it's also Fix It Again, Tony.
Yeah.
when it was made in Italy, because they're always broken down.
I've had a few Fiats. I know
Sure.
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Went to school in one long time ago.
Yeah.
So, but basically fiat, it's basically Latin, and it means let it be so. So they're just saying, hey, this is just the way it is.
Explains the legal term.
Yeah.
When they say fiat.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So this fractional system allows banks, and this is the very simple version. A bank gets money from the central bank, and then they lend it out. But they don't have to necessarily have the money on hand to lend out. They have multipliers. It's fractional because they can basically say, oh, you want $300,000 for your house?
Yeah.
No problem, Mr. Smith. Here's your money.
Yeah.
And they just create it out of thin air. Because basically they've borrowed money, but from that amount of money, they may be able to lend out 10 times.
Yeah.
So it's a debt system.
Yeah.
It's a Ponzi scheme.
Wasn't there something where there was a rule of thumb where they could only lend 10% of their holdings? Or is that something
I think that was previous.
That's earlier than that.
Earlier, where they had, this was actually tied down.
Yeah.
You could control it. There is so much leverage in the system.
Well,
Mortgage banking,
when
banking
you're
in general.
the guy with the money and you make the rules, then yeah, it's
and
easy.
that's exactly how it's been set up. It's basically most Americans have very little knowledge or clue about where money comes from, how it's issued. But the Federal Reserve Bank says, okay, we're going to put some money into the system. So they call up the Treasury, and then it kind of goes back and forth. But the Treasury is actually what makes the money, but that's not who issues the money.
Yeah, it's printed there.
Yeah, it's printed
or
there,
coined there,
but then it goes back to the Federal Reserve, and then the Federal Reserve lends it out,
which is an
but it's all
individual entity that has nothing to do with us.
very little.
Yeah.
Well, they have a building on
Yeah, downtown
Constitution Avenue or
Yeah,
Independence Avenue,
D.C.,
Yeah.
somewhere down there.
So,
They don't do tours, I don't think.
no, and there's no little giveaway packages when you come. No,
No.
in fact, they want you to give.
Yeah.
And believe me, we've been giving for a long time.
And giving.
Yeah. Because you have to understand the whole horrible part of this is they charge us. They charge us, I'm not sure if it's 3 or 6% on each the money that we actually print, they charge us for it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're borrowing money from me and I'm charging you more than you borrow, how are you ever going to pay back the original equity amount?
Right. Especially with compounded interest.
You can't.
Yeah.
It
It's horrible.
can't.
Especially the further out you go. You go 20 years, you go 30
Sure.
years, you
Yeah.
know, and that just becomes
So
an
it becomes
impossibility.
these, you've heard of these, the balloons, money balloons, where they've been inflated. But the debt market is just unbelievable now. We have record debt, and on top of it, it's going to be really, I don't know however
Scary.
we'll repay it.
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's ruined a lot of lives in the process.
Yeah, so if everybody paid off all their debt, I heard that there would be no money in circulation
Really?
at all.
Then what would we do?
I don't know. Well, money's digital now. So you don't even really they don't even want money to be circulated. The coin and the dollar bills.
Yeah.
They want there's a tracking of all monies. And if it's electronic, credit card, deposits, withdrawals, everything, if it's just done electronically and you pay your bills like that, then, there's no need to even touch it. And very few people even carry money around nowadays.
Yeah. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have any.
Well, if you don't have any money,
I
yeah.
don't.
So.
But,
that's the sad. That's the sadder part of it.
Yeah, it is. And I'm like most Americans, we're just going by, month after month, check after check. And when you reach a point where you begin to understand how this whole process works, then you really start to wonder what's going on. Who's in charge of this, and who makes these rules, and who came up with things like balloon loans that people don't even understand, and all of a sudden 10 years into a 30-year mortgage, and they're called for $180,000 now, or lose your house.
Yeah. Or refinance.
Yeah, it's insane.
It is insane, but it's what we're dealt with.
Right.
And unless something dramatic, happens, unless the system kind of falls apart, and it almost did.
Yeah.
In the 2008-9 time period, we had a big hiccup, and as we've had in previous times.
Yeah.
But usually economic collapses are tied kind of to the stock market.
Mm-hmm.
The dollar is somewhat stable, and the reason that is because what essentially has become is the American dollar has become the world currency. At least it was for many, many years.
Yeah, I think like
through
up
the
to
petrodollar.
70% or something like that.
Yeah, what would happen is if countries wanted to trade whatever, more than likely if they were buying oil out on the market, that they would have to convert their money currency into the petrodollar, dollar bills. As people deviate away from the American dollar, this could be very detrimental to the dollar system. So you'll see that maybe possibly weaken. But we're still the strongest currency in the bag.
Yeah, and there was a time where the American dollar carried so much more weight than it does today.
Sure. Yeah, it
in
was
international trading.
It was the king of currencies for a long time, and now you'll see the yuan, the Chinese yuan, and different currencies where countries are, using them more.
Yeah.
So that takes away.
Yeah, and I remember many years ago traveling to Mexico, to the Yucatan Peninsula, and converting some of my American money into local money, pesos and things like that.
Yeah.
And man, I got a whole bunch more of their money for my money. and then you can convert it on the way back. But there's some places I understand that you can't. Once you bring it in, you can't bring it out again.
Yeah.
It just becomes part of that country and that nation, and that's it. Too bad you can't take it back. Oh my God.
And that was the benefit of the euro. But as countries they don't have their individual currency anymore. They thought it was going to be this great system because then you could go anywhere. You could use the money in Germany, France, England, wherever.
No more francs, no more
But,
shekels, no more any of that.
But that's kind of like creating a McDonald's on every corner. I always thought it was kind of neat to go to these different countries and get the different bills and stuff. Exchanging money was never a problem.
Yeah.
But they seemed to tell us it was a problem.
Yeah.
But a lot of countries have lost their identity
Mm-hmm.
and have gone seriously into debt because when you go into the euro, as we are in the central banking system, we're literally prisoner to it. There's no flexibility.
Yeah.
And they could raise the interest rates or lower them as they wish.
Yeah.
And
Cross country.
Cross country.
And then, oh well.
Yeah.
You know.
What's interesting here is, I talk about central banks, and that's really that's a very important integral part of money in the world. Very few countries don't have central banks. Do you know the short list of countries that don't?
Can I guess?
Sure, have fun.
Iran.
Iran?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got one. That's good.
North Korea.
Got two. Excellent.
And Syria. No.
Actually, that was on the list. Now I don't think it's on the list, and maybe it's Cuba.
Okay.
But, before there was a couple other ones, Afghanistan. But we've gone in and kind of changed the monetary system there.
Yeah.
America seems to go in. Somehow our timing's amazing. We go in, we change these people's everything. We extract the gold.
Religion,
I don't know where that goes.
Philosophy, we change it all.
They love our jeans and our apple pie, don't they? I mean, come
they
on.
Do. Yeah, in our Starbucks.
Who wouldn't?
Yeah, and earlier when we were talking about stuff, we also just to drop backwards a little bit. In 1946 came the credit card.
Oh, yeah.
See, and this was the first bank card.
Wasn't it like a Diners Club or something?
Diners Club came in, I believe, 1950. That was a card that was released for some restaurants in New York so that you could just pay your bills at the restaurant instead of cash. That's what it was called, the Diners card.
Sure.
I remember as a kid, my dad had a Diners card.
So did mine.
And, then came, obviously after that, Bank of America issued their cards, and then the mag strip.
Well, American Express.
Yeah, American Express.
Was on.
Sure. The mag strip then perfected electronic banking. That made everything way easier. And then, of course, PayPal and the early online, banking services. I think the first thing that was bought with online banking was a pepperoni pizza at Pizza Hut. Seriously, I remember that being the first online purchase. And then we move forward into, cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin and all this other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Which we'll get to here in a little bit.
Well, I mean, it's here right now because if we don't think we're kind of on a digital monetary system right now, well, look again.
Yeah.
It really is. And they really don't want you to, I remember trying to use some money at like, buying something somewhere, and they looked at me weird, like, what?
Remember the Visa television commercial?
Dusty, antiquated dollar bills.
Yeah, it was an awesome TV commercial. It was like a department store, and then there was this music, and everything was moving along.
Oh yeah,
like
and then all of a sudden the guy pulls out the cash, and then
it all stops. Yeah,
all stops, and they look at you like you have two heads.
Exactly.
But this is what we grew up.
Yeah.
The unfortunate thing is it's so easy to go into debt. It's so easy nowadays. Wherever you turn, and they get you coming into college, they hit you up. Hey, how would you like a credit card?
Sure.
And you're in college.
Yeah.
This is a dangerous combination.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they make it easy by offering you first a secured card. So you put up $100, you get a $100 card.
Yeah, it's a secured card.
And then eventually they give you a little more leeway, and then eventually you hang yourself. Because these are like 25, 30, 40% interest. And even if the crazy part about it is if you make the minimum payment each month, you go further in debt.
Yeah.
It doesn't bang anything down.
Their addition doesn't really work well for you.
No.
It works well for them.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's their system.
We always speak so ill of them, but they're really not. They try to be friendly. When you call them on the phone, they're just so friendly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're smiling and stabbing you at the same time.
Yeah, I just
Yeah.
remember the hometown banks.
Yeah.
You know, those were awesome. You'd go into a hometown
And
bank.
they know your
They know
name.
your name. They've
Yeah.
worked there. They're going to retire there. You know, it's just an awesome thing.
Yeah, you walk in the door and they look at you and say, "What are you doing here? You know you don't have any money."
Right,
But
right. And here
You're going to
you know,
shuffle around your $10 again.
Sure,
huh?
and here you build a banking relationship with your local bank now, and you know it's not a local bank anymore. It's part of some gigantic conglomerate
They have
bank.
banks where you can't even get money out of anymore.
Right, exactly.
It's just, what are they? It's almost like a coffee shop.
Yeah, and then I pulled into a bank just a few weeks ago in the drive-through,
Yeah.
and it's a TV screen with a teller who's not even there.
No, they're probably
They're
in
somewhere else.
India, maybe.
Maybe, or the Philippines or somewhere.
Somewhere, yeah.
But not there.
No.
No, so they have this great big bank. And then, you know, there are banks that I've pulled up to where literally the entire drive-through area is just closed. They don't even use it anymore
Right. Yeah.
because of all the online
banking, yeah.
And you know, from your phone and everything else.
Yeah, and some of us are old-fashioned. I buck the system a little bit just because it's new, and I think we move a little bit too quickly with this stuff. Interesting quote here. This is actually from Meyer Amschel Rothschild.
Oh,
This
yeah,
shows you,
that guy.
So he says, "Permit me to issue and control the money of a nation, and
Oh.
I care not who makes its laws." That gets back to the fact is how powerful these central banks are.
Yeah.
And then here's another quote. This is from Henry Ford. "It is well enough that the people of our nation do not understand our banking and monetary system. For if they did, I believe they would be a revolution before tomorrow morning." That's what we're talking about. We're not embellishing this. It's quite a shame
Yeah.
that we're this smart and this many years, and we're just being literally taken advantage of by
and it still goes on.
it still goes on as if is there any recourse?
It's funny, you know, many years ago, the money was kept in the temple of our ancestors' time because it was safe there. you know?
Right.
Now, the money, the banks have become the temple. See, and even when we look at London, well,
The
we look at the
religion-
Crown Temple. You know,
The religion of money.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it's become in many ways.
Yeah. Another quote, interesting. "Too many people spend money they don't have to buy things they really don't want or need
Right.
to impress people they don't like."
There you go.
Yeah. So I mean that's kind of it. We all overspend or spend more than maybe we have. Some of us, and at the end of the day, what do you got?
Trouble,
You may have trouble. Yeah.
financial trouble.
Well,
and then
for a moment
financial
you feel
trouble-
real good, like your buddy comes over and say, "Here, look what I bought."
Yeah.
But when they leave and walk out the door, you have to pay for it.
Yeah.
And if you already paid for it, where did you get the money from? This
Right.
kind of thing.
Right.
It's people just have to work, and money management is becoming with the cost of tuition and the cost of food and everything increasing. Hey, you just have to be on top of it. Here's another one. The truth is, money isn't everything, but everything needs money.
Yeah.
Okay? And then if there were no debt in our money system, there wouldn't be any money. But that's what I
Which
said.
you
I mean,
said, yeah.
but because
I never thought of it that way.
no, because like if you paid off every debt you have, and I did, and
What
with
need-
money,
what need
there
would
wouldn't-
we have for it?
yeah, you wouldn't be able. There wouldn't be any money in circulation
Yeah,
at the end of the
the
day.
boomerang returns.
Yeah. So J.P. Morgan said this: "Gold is real money. Everything else is just credit."
Mhm.
Well, we got back to, all the paper money.
Mhm.
It's all, because the piece of gold,
Mhm.
it has intrinsic value.
Yeah.
You can feel its weight.
Yep.
You can actually divide it
Yep.
into pieces. It's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, but
No.
in the old days they would measure it on a scale. And
Mhm.
here, you gave me too much, and here's your little bit back.
Right.
But it's fungible.
It's also not indigenous to Earth.
No, and it's a real thing.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
real thing. But we've
But you
still
can make-
we've still placed the value on it.
You can make stuff with it, jewelry. I mean, it has value, but silver even more so has so many medical applications, and it's
Sure.
it's one of the best materials because it's very clean.
Mhm.
It doesn't take on any, disease and stuff like that. So, and they use it in countless numbers of like solar shields and just in every phone.
Yeah.
There's just millions of applications
Yeah.
that silver.
I have
So
I have a ton of it inside my body.
You may have some of it, maybe even in your teeth. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
But
I had all
somewhere
that
else.
taken out.
Okay.
Yeah, I was getting radio stations late at night.
Yeah.
So I had that taken out. But yeah, that's the whole point of, rare and precious gems.
Yeah.
Gold is rare and precious.
Sure.
So we place a value on that. And that's why it was so important at the time that there be a reserve of it, because that's what everything was leaning on. You had $10 in paper money. There was $10 of its equal in gold bullion. When that went away, it just became a free-for-all.
Yeah.
And that's why we're here talking about this today.
Yeah.
And then comes the interest on all of that. And where does that go? That goes right back to the banking system again.
Yeah.
You mentioned there was one central bank of all the other banks.
Yeah, well, the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS.
Okay, the one in Switzerland.
Yes. Ironically, they're in a building that looks like the Tower of Babel. So, I should
How
tell you.
about that?
Yeah, just look it up. Bank of International Settlements. We'll finish up with this.
Yeah.
The central bank, or the Federal Reserve, as we call it here in the United States. Ironically and funny enough, it's not federal, and they really don't have any reserves, at least from what we can tell, unless they're sitting on all that gold. But we have absolutely no control over them.
Speaking of Federal Reserve, I remember as a kid I would collect different kinds of money, which I still have stashed somewhere. But I remember running across these bills from time to time that would say a Federal Reserve note.
Yeah.
Rather than, a dollar bill or whatever it was.
Yeah, those were pre some of them were silver certificates and stuff like
Yeah,
this.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was right on the money. The on the money says "In God We Trust,"
Mm-hmm.
and it says a lot of other things. And that segues really well, because we should actually talk about the physical bill. It's so interesting.
Yeah.
The dollar bill has a lot of stuff on it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tons
so
of stuff.
Usually, it has a picture of good old George Washington on there.
Mm-hmm.
And they've made newer bills now. They changed the money. They make these things so difficult and intricate that, to try to copy them or counterfeit the bill is virtually impossible, but people have done over time. But they put a lot of hidden stuff. We talked about this. There's a little teeny owl.
Yeah,
in
the
top right
yeah.
by the one.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to get your,
magnifying
glasses
You're my
out.
age.
Yeah.
My son could probably see it, but
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, so you've got the pyramid, you've got the all-seeing eye, you've got all of that on there.
There's a lot of occult messaging,
and then the
Masonic symbols,
13 feathers, and
you know it all, man.
Yeah, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, on the dollar bill, obviously, there is the Great Seal,
Mm-hmm.
which is this pyramid. And this was brought to us through a guy named Nicholas Roerich, who was a really creepy dude.
Okay.
Basically an occult person. Have you heard of him?
No, I've not.
Yeah,
Is
would
he
you
the guy
believe...
that actually did the graphics on that?
No. The seal was actually made hundreds of years before, and actually was part of several things.
Okay.
And in fact, if you even think I think the flag of Colorado has the seal on it,
Okay.
or a pyramid,
Yeah.
and that dates back from the 1800s.
Okay.
So, but the seal,
And all
the seal,
all the 13 stuff has to do with the original 13 colonies and all.
like
that
I
as well.
said, you and we both know that Masonic images, symbols,
Mhm.
messaging has been put into it's everywhere.
Yeah.
It's especially on the money.
Mhm.
So you have to ask yourself a question: why is there a pyramid on our seal? Why is there a little teeny capstone with an eye that's separated?
Yep.
So this is all possibly the eye of Horus. Will come down, and when it finally sets on the pyramid, it'll have full control over every aspect of this pyramid and everybody that's involved in the pyramid, which is you and me and everybody else.
Right.
Now, there's a gap there, you can tell, because it hasn't quite set yet, although I think they wanted to have this all buttoned up by, the year 2020. I'm just saying this. I know that the elite had plans to completely control us in certain aspects, and the monetary system was well on its way.
Yeah. Well, fortunately for us, they're fighting amongst themselves so much that they've slowed the whole process down.
Right.
Because that's what happens. That's mine. No, it's mine, and that slows things down.
Just to give more credence to what we're saying,
Mm-hmm.
Novus Order Seclorum is Latin. It's on the crest.
Right there.
It translates to basically one world order.
Right.
Okay. And then Annuit Coeptus,
Yes.
more Latin,
More Latin.
translates into our enterprise is a success.
Hmm.
These are loose translations, but I don't know what else we need to do. I'm surprised we haven't had a group of people with pitchforks and coming down and saying, why is there pyramids on our dollar bill? Why do you have this new world order on there? What's with the owl? Just tell us.
Right.
I mean, it's almost as if they handle it very secretively.
Well, it's all been.
And you're stupid to ask why,
Yeah.
because then you're a conspiracy guy.
Well, yeah, and it's all part of the mystery of it all.
It is. It's very mysterious.
And I think that among the ancients and among some of our early founding fathers, there were many secrets.
Yeah.
That we were not to know anything about.
Where better to hide them is right in plain sight,
Exactly.
right on your dollar bill.
Exactly, right in front of your face.
Used by everybody.
Yep.
And in this kind of spreads consciousness around because people are using this and they're seeing it.
Mm-hmm.
It can work on you on a subliminal, maybe subconscious kind of level. I mean, who knows what it's doing to us? But there's occult symbols, esoteric stuff that's on the bill, and it was done on purpose.
Sure.
So I just asked the question. I haven't gotten any perfectly straight answers from anybody.
Mm-hmm.
They don't say much.
No, and also incorporated into some of our paper money now. It's there are symbols and unique designs inside the paper as part of the construct of
You
the
mean
paper.
like when you fold it, you can make?
Yeah.
Yeah. Said
You
before,
fold
yeah.
into different things, and they show different things, and there's different images. There's even a way to fold a bill and actually see the Twin Towers disaster unfolding as you fold the bill itself.
If that is the case, and it was done on purpose,
Mhm.
and it was meant for us to find it,
Yep.
that's just cruel.
Yeah.
I mean, it's inexcusable, really.
Yeah.
Why people can't indicate this, I don't know. I mean, they'll investigate the stupidest little things
Yeah.
on people.
Right.
Yet this is our money.
Yeah.
Let's get some.
It's
some
important.
It.
It is important. That's all there is to it.
I'm going to jump up to the $100 bill, is what we affectionately call the Benjamin.
Yeah, I remember those.
Yeah, you remember those? You're supposed to have some in your wallet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not anymore.
Oh, come on, man.
No.
You're a good.
I
You're
might have one stashed
come
away
on,
in a
no.
collection.
Okay, well,
somewhere.
you're funny,
Yeah,
but
they don't even print them anymore, right?
No, well, they still do, but you know
Do they?
the
Oh, it's
$100
anything over the 100, they don't print it.
Yeah, they don't. I remember a long time ago, I was out and I was in line, and the guy in front of us had a $1,000 bill.
Wow.
This was a
while ago.
long time ago,
Yeah.
and my dad said, "Look at that."
Yeah.
And I've never seen one since.
Yeah.
And I saw a $500 bill one time being used in circulation, but those are rare.
Yeah.
But no, they don't want you to, they want it to be $100 bills. But the interesting thing about the new Benjamin, and you can tell the old one from the new one, is because the new one has this blue stripe, which no one can tell us exactly what's the stripe is for.
Sure. Other than security and
Well,
reproduction.
it may
issues.
be a security stripe.
Mhm.
The interesting thing about the bill is when you look at it, it kind of is divided into two parts.
Yeah.
You have Benjamin Franklin's portrait
Yeah.
on
And
the
it's-
one side.
It's off to
It's
the
off
side
center.
instead of being in the
On
center.
Right, where it used to be.
Yeah.
And then the blue stripe is there. And then on the right is where all the new stuff is. So if you see a lot of items,
Mhm.
you'll see a quill, pen, and
Okay.
an ink
Okay.
canister. These are all in gold.
Hmm.
Gold.
Real gold.
GOLD. So that tells you something.
Yeah.
So you have kind of the old money, and maybe we're going back to the gold system. Who knows?
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff on the bill, I believe, that is put there for specific messaging.
Mhm.
And we it's too short of a show to go into all of it, but I will permit me to do this one thing.
Sure.
And this is really probably the most important thing.
Before you do that, though, I
Sure, yeah.
do wonder one thing. I wonder if any of these new bills are actually magnetic in any way.
That's what I'm saying. I bet that they might be, and they're not telling us.
Yeah.
That blue thing might be some kind of stripping.
Yeah.
It might actually be an identification, like that bill has coding specifically to that bill.
Yeah. And can also,
Of course, that's what the
either
serial number's for.
maybe
but
even transmit in some way circulation of where it's going.
who knows?
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a GPS system.
Yet.
We're not there yet.
Yeah.
But again, that's what your credit card does.
Exactly.
It tracks you
Well,
everywhere.
go ahead where you're going there.
Well, I was just
Sorry.
going to say, read this. This is actually on the $100 bill.
It says that whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or to abolish it and to institute new government, laying its foundation on such principles and organizing its power in such form as to them shall seem most likely to affect their safety and happiness.
Perfect. Yeah, that's
right there.
So what is that telling you? It tells you a lot.
Yeah, I mean, has there ever been a time in the
Outlines-
last 100 years that people were more ready to alter or abolish a government?
I think the time is now. Perhaps.
Perhaps.
We'll see.
Yeah, I don't
We'll see
know.
how bad things get. I think that
But
right
why
now.
would it be? Why would it be right there on the money?
But and they put it there.
It's part of the whole that they've been doing for hundreds
That's
of years.
exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
That's exactly, and they're mocking us.
Yeah.
Do you see this?
Yes.
Doesn't that get you
All the
upset?
time. Yes, all
Yeah.
the time.
I mean, when I show people that, I tell them it's right there on the $100 bill. They're going, nah.
Yeah.
But even after they read it, they don't quite get it. But
Right.
if you read it,
Right.
what does it say?
Right.
Hey, it's telling us that we're messing with you, and unless you figure it out, we're going to keep doing it.
Right.
And it's up to you.
It's cat and mouse.
Yeah. So that's how. Ugh. And there's two guys,
Yeah.
very famous presidents that didn't like central banks, and they kind of bucked the system. So one was Lincoln in the 1860s. He issued greenbacks.
Okay.
Greenbacks were interest-free money.
How about that?
Yeah. Now this is before the Federal Reserve. This is during the
Federal
second.
Reserve was in 23?
The Federal Reserve was 1913
13, okay.
originally,
Okay.
and then in 33 there were some other changes to the
At
gold.
33.
But
imagine.
yeah. But
33.
yeah,
Well, it
and
had
that
to be
was
33.
yeah, it was that was right after the Depression too.
Yeah,
So we
yeah.
were going through a lot of money problems and stuff like that. But the greenbacks were not they weren't looked on too favorably by some of these international banking people.
Mm-hmm.
There's another guy that did interest-free money.
Yeah.
His name was Kennedy.
Oh,
In the
that guy.
1960s, yeah, he had silver certificates.
That's
which-
where that came from.
Yeah, I think these were 60s. I'm not sure if they were in the 50s. There's different types of stuff, but you mentioned, sometimes they'll say this is a note, a promissory note,
Yeah,
this and that.
promissory
Yeah,
note or Federal Reserve note.
but these certificates being interest free, and I think he printed lots of them. There was something called Executive Order 11110,
Okay.
which he implemented. It didn't fare well for him either. We know what happened to both these presidents. Now, are we connecting dots? I mean, is there a situation where
the dots are there.
The dots are there.
You
All-
can't connect dots if there's no dots.
there's no other presidents that issued interest-free money, just these two. What happened to them?
Yeah.
And the similarities.
Yeah.
So that tells you
Off
that
to the dirt farm.
yeah. But hey, it's
Speculation.
it's speculation, but if it's truth, there's a lot at stake here.
Yeah.
I mean, these people do not want to let go
No.
of control.
No, there's so much at stake. It's everything to them. Them being whoever they are.
Yeah. So another aspect of money is how it affects us, like kind of like on a spiritual level. In this, the consciousness of money is.
Yeah, and can I just mention a misquote,
Sure, man.
please? Because people many times go to the Bible and quote, well, money is the root of all evil. No, it's not what it says. It's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Right.
That's what it says.
Yeah.
So we have to sort of, money's good. It's like anything else. It's good, it's bad. But how are you going to use it?
It's not it's not good or bad. It's just
It
money.
just is.
It just is.
Right.
And how you interpret it.
Yeah, and
Obviously, if you don't,
what you do with it,
what you do
is
with it,
good or bad.
if you don't have enough of it,
Mhm.
you may look at it and see it as a bleak situation.
Yeah.
If you have a ton of it,
Yeah.
you may be thinking you're happy.
Yeah.
But then happiness doesn't usually equate. It may be fleeting.
Yeah.
It's not a lasting
No.
happiness. But you do need money, and I'll tell you, people with money, they have an easier time of it.
They
If
do.
you can pay your bills and get along and afford nice things, and most importantly, decent food,
Yep.
a decent education,
A nice roof
decent
over your
clothes,
head.
a roof over your head. These are all important things.
They are, and the thing with this electronic money and all that stuff these days is I think we're seeing fewer and fewer bank robberies. There used to be, lots of bank robberies. So now you go to a bank to rob the bank, and one of the tellers might say, "Hey, anybody got $20? Anybody?" Because they don't have any money.
No.
And if they do, it's locked in a safe that you're never ever going to get into.
I try to take out a little bit more than normal on a withdrawal.
All the sirens go off.
Yeah,
and,
they say they don't
guards-
have it
yeah.
there, and then they give you
Right.
kind of a, the runaround a little
Right,
bit.
and they want to know what you're going to do with it.
Of course,
because
yeah.
if you're trying to take out a little more money than the average Joe, then they probably figure you're up to no good, and you're automatically
None
guilty
of your
something.
business.
Right, exactly. It's my money. Give it back to me.
No, they very nicely ask, "What are you going to be doing? You
Yeah.
know, are you buying a shed with this, or are you going to be buying guns?"
Right, exactly. Or a gun, or a shed with guns.
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
But these things are in our daily life. There's no way that we can get around it. Money is part of everything. We have people that are living on the streets everywhere, simply because they don't have any money.
Yeah.
And when you don't have any money, you really don't have anything, because you need sustenance. You need to be able to eat. You need clean water.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a mansion with a swimming pool. It's nice to have,
That'd be nice.
but it's not a need.
No.
So the basic elements that people need, thank God for all of these people who are helping to provide monetary help to people who don't have it. And that goes into the corporate world too. I'll give you an example. St. Jude Research Hospital does amazing work towards saving lives and saving these kids from having to suffer and go through the trials and tribulations that they go through. But guess what? It's all with other people's money. It's all on donations. That's what they use to run the entire hospital. So there's a bunch of people out there, good people with a lot of money, who are saying, "Hey, this is a good thing. We're going to put money in here."
Yeah.
And that makes lives a lot better for those who are involved.
One would think if you had a lot of money, that you'd use it in altruistic ways.
And it's kind of a business card in a way. I remember with David Rockefeller, when back in the Standard Oil days and all that stuff, he began to have this horrible reputation. And he decided, how can I fix that? So he used to just carry around a bag of quarters, in his pocket, and he would meet people.
I thought it
and
was
just-
dimes.
Was it dimes?
Yeah, he would have gone broke if it was quarters. I think it was. He gave a dime to everybody.
Okay, dimes. So he
Yeah.
just kept giving out money. So all of a sudden, you give away money. You're
Sure.
a good guy.
Yeah. Hey,
He's my
yeah,
friend. He's
yeah,
awesome.
Yeah.
You
He may do some really horrible things over there, but he's giving me money. I like
Right,
that. yeah.
right. I like
so
that.
he's more easily forgiven. I would like to see a day where you used to have the one worker. You didn't both have to work.
Yeah.
You could actually afford a new car every 3 years. You could actually buy a house and have a nice green lawn and go on vacations and go out to eat. That's becoming tough. Most Americans, I shouldn't say most, but let's say at least 50% are paycheck to paycheck, living unable to barely get by.
Yeah. If they lose their job for whatever reason,
Healthcare, just
they
everything.
got maybe 30 days, and they're on the street.
Yeah, they have to borrow it or whatever.
Yeah, and if you
But
don't
we're not-
have friends or family to go to for help, you're screwed.
I think that's just a sad state that we're in. I'd like to see that change.
And you were talking about consciousness versus consciousness. With this, we have to have a clear understanding that there is no other. And it's absolute fact that if you do something for someone else, it will return to you.
Some people talk about money and karma, and
Right.
sometimes money doesn't work with karma.
Right.
Because it's not really us. It's not
Right.
a part of us.
Right. It's not the currency of the universe.
If you do nice things for somebody and you do give out money, it does make you feel good.
Sure.
And then that kind of brings a new vibration to you.
Yep.
And in turn, it could be good.
Yep.
But you got to do it. If you feel like you're being forced to do it or whatever, it's probably
Then you're negating it.
you're negating it. Yeah. But we definitely see the dichotomy of those who have and have not.
Mhm.
I'd like to think that there's more leveling, but somehow it's just the rich get richer and the poor are just not really getting a fair shake of it.
Lots of information about money, where it came from, what we can do with it, and where it might go.
Yeah.
But the
It'll be
bottom line of all of it is right now, it's ones and zeros. It's mostly
It all
electronic.
boils down to that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's mostly electronic. A lot of holiday shopping is done online. Sure, they still go to the stores and the big box stores and things like that. But you go anywhere you go anymore, you just swipe and run.
Yep.
You hit that credit card and off you go. And just think that it wasn't that long ago where checks were the standard. And I look back on that and I think, wow, people were really stupid to take a piece of paper from somebody, And
But that's what they were doing with the money.
right,
Yeah.
right. But it's the same
It
thing.
went from paper to plastic.
Right, which basically it's the paper money is really worth nothing more than the napkin you see on the street. It's just that we give it value.
Right. Health, wisdom,
Yeah.
knowledge,
Yeah.
love,
Yeah.
stuff that you can't necessarily buy with money.
Right.
Those things. Okay.
Thanks, my friend.
Yeah, man.
Bye.
You've been listening to Quantum Flow Radio. Email us online at quantumflowradio@gmail.com.